the Washington football team beat the Eagles yesterday on Sunday, and what a cool game. Oh, my goodness. I predicted Washington to win 2 games this year. And already it looks like that prediction was wildly wrong. I got no problem with it. It was an interesting game. There are 2 sides to it. And if you want to just hear about the Eagles, you can skip ahead. I'm going to talk about Philadelphia in a minute. But Washington really impressed, and they surprised me yesterday. So early on, by the way, if you didn't watch the game, early on though, Philadelphia dominated. I mean, Philadelphia was up 17-0 their first drive. I mean, they moved through the Washington defense like they were not even there. It was like routes on air, like bang, 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 touchdown drive number 1. And Carson Wentz early on in this game was dominating. Did you watch the first drive? The first drive especially was like, oh my, this Washington team has no answer for Carson Wentz. And they looked effortless. I mean, the first 2 plays were big gains. Then, like I said, bang, 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 touchdown Eagles. And I went, oh, Washington is in trouble. And if you judge the game off just the first quarter, it would have been a 50-0 blowout. And by the way, early in this game, Washington quarterback Dwayne Haskins really struggled. They were down 17-0. He started just 3 of 12 passing. And I got to say, regardless of how he finished the game, Dwayne Haskins has to be better with accuracy. His accuracy was all over the place yesterday. He was very inaccurate early on. And he's still, again, moving forward, regardless of the way the game was finished, he's got to be better next week. But Washington had this moment where they had a fork in the road, where they were down 17-0. And that's a lot of adversity where they could either choose to go, we're going to let this game get away from us, or we're going to arch our backs and fight even harder. Last year, the Washington football team would have lost this game by 40 points. They were down 17-0 early. Last year, they didn't have the resilience to fight through that. This year, down 17, they didn't back down. They proved this is not last year. They fought back. And to me, what that does, it says a lot about their new head coach, Ron Rivera. Oh my gosh, I love Ron Rivera. They've completely bought into him. He's fighting cancer. He had an IV at halftime. And his team has said, we are all in on what Ron Rivera is doing. And it was so cool. And then later when the game was tied, as Washington fought back, and the game was 17-17, and it was 4th and 1 for Washington. On the 3-yard line, instead of kicking a field goal, just simply taking the lead, Ron Rivera said, I am confident in my team. And he put his faith in his team. And it was my favorite moment of the year because Washington got the first down. They ran for it. They got it just barely. And then they scored a touchdown 2 plays later. They won 27-17. It was awesome. Like, just a cool, really fun game and a fun win for Washington. And I got to say, I was just flat wrong about this team. I was completely flat wrong. When they got rid of Adrian Peterson, I took that as a sign of this team saying, you know, we're really rebuilding. We're working towards next year. We're not going to be competitive this year. We're getting rid of Adrian Peterson because we're going to invest in our young running backs and rebuild and retool. We're just going to focus on developing young talent. It was just wrong. I was just wrong about Washington. In the preseason, I saw that their starting tight end was going to be Logan Thomas, the former Virginia Tech quarterback. I said, what? Your tight end is a quarterback? Like I had no faith, and I don't mind being wrong about this. I looked at what they were doing and going, Adrian Peterson's gone. Your tight end's a former quarterback. What's happening? And the reality is, the running backs they chose can play, and Logan Thomas turns out is a really, really good tight end. I don't know how I missed it. And then, guys, the biggest whiff of my entire prediction and what was going on, I was excited to watch Montez Sweat. I was excited to watch Chase Young, the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft this past year. But what I didn't account for is just how dominating and just how good Washington's defensive line is. They are just unreal. They have 5 players that were drafted in the first round of the NFL draft on this defensive line. They had not 1, not 2, not 3, not 5. They had 8 sacks on Sunday against Carson Wentz and the Eagles. That's unbelievable to me. So again, Chase Young, number 2 overall pick. Montez Sweat, a former first-round pick from last year, from 2019. He looks way better, by the way. And then you look at, well, what about their defensive tackles? They've got Deron Payne, the 2019 13th overall pick at D tackle. They have Jonathan Allen, the 2017 17th overall pick. Oh, and by the way, rotating in a really good defensive end, Ryan Kerrigan, who was the 2011 16th overall pick. Okay, I get it. There's a lot of talent here on the Washington defensive line. Again, Zach was wrong. I admit it. I can own it. I've not no problem saying I was wrong. I am excited about Washington. I clearly underestimated them, and I still want to see their quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, be a more accurate as the year goes on. He can't play like he did in the first half. He just can't. 3 for 12 passing with a bunch of throws in the dirt and really bad incompletions cannot happen for Dwayne Haskins. I worry for him moving forward. He's got to be more accurate. But almost everything I saw yesterday from Washington, I loved. And my favorite thing about this team was the way they fought back. Down 17. Last year, that team loses the game by 40. This year, they're a different team. And for me, it's a blast to see. Now, the Eagles. Oh, boy. If I was an Eagles fan, after watching my team lose week 1, I'd be very upset. I would be distraught. I would be concerned. Number one, the Eagles already have a ton of injuries. They are decimated already somehow. They had 5 starters out going into this game. They had a couple more guys get hurt during the game. They lost Vinnie Curry. They lost Brandon Graham. 2 defensive ends. That's a huge blow. So the Eagles are already decimated by injuries. Terrifying, problematic. I don't want to overreact and say the Eagles are doomed, but I feel pretty good about saying they're going to go 7-9 this year, given what we saw yesterday with injuries already being a problem. But number 2, and this is the concerning, baffling, weird, unexpected thing that happened yesterday with the Philadelphia Eagles. Yesterday, the Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz just fell off a cliff in the second half. I've never seen a quarterback do that, where for a long time, and I got to say, I have championed Carson Wentz. I've held the dude on a pedestal. I've said he's elite. For a long time, have been really, really championing and touting about how good Carson Wentz is. And yesterday, he let me down. Yesterday, Carson Wentz made me look really stupid, where dude was not elite yesterday, even a little bit. And you can't be an elite quarterback and do what he did yesterday. He's now no longer elite. I can't see a quarterback do either no longer or never was. Maybe I was just wrong from the beginning. But Carson Wentz started great yesterday, was dominating early, the first drive, especially from the Eagles. I went, oh, wow, they're just cutting through this Washington defense like a knife through butter. But as the game started going sideways, as guys started getting injured, as Washington started coming back, and Carson Wentz got sacked a couple times, Carson Wentz fell apart. That's not good. He missed multiple throws where guys were open. He had a throw to Jalen Reagor deep downfield. He overthrew it. He had another one I just can't get out of my head where he missed it. I'm like, how do you miss that throw? He was overthrowing guys. He had 2 interceptions. He had a guy over the middle, just airmailed it way over everybody's head. And he had a really bad sack on 3rd and 8 where the Eagles were in field goal range. It looked good. And then on 3rd and 8, Carson Wentz took a sack and it was bad. He kept backpedaling, losing more and more ground, losing more and more yards, making the field goal harder. It cost his team 3 points. That can't happen. Wentz was really bad yesterday. And yes, he was sacked 8 times. And that's never good. But despite being sacked 8 times, it's not like he didn't have opportunities to complete passes downfield. He was inaccurate. He had really bad misses. He was a problem yesterday. Not to mention 2 interceptions, bad decision-making. He was wild and inaccurate. He made bad decisions. He had that 3rd and 8 sack that he took, which was just baffling and frustrating. I don't know what to say. Carson Wentz was a disappointment yesterday. And that can't happen from your franchise quarterback. You're paying as much money as the Eagles are paying. Carson Wentz, that loss, I don't want to put too much on the quarterback. We overreact. We say it's all the quarterback's fault. But yesterday, it's unavoidable to say that Carson Wentz had opportunities yesterday. Not 1, not 2, but many. And he didn't take advantage. And a quarterback, if you're going to call a guy elite, if you're going to pay a guy a ton of money, you're going to say, this is our guy. He's got to make those plays. And yesterday, Carson Wentz did not make the plays he needed to against Washington. If I'm an Eagles fan, I feel awful after watching week 1. Our team is injured. Our quarterback played badly, despite a good start. I don't want to say it's doomsday for Philadelphia. That's a little bit over the top, but I would not feel good today if I was an Eagles fan. I mean, you never feel good after a loss, but it's the way that they lost that makes me go, ooh, injuries. Carson Wentz fell apart. The offensive line looks bad. That's not good even a little bit.